protest signs and protest just one day, not on the Abbey property, but in a public place in the town. So I had never trespassed on their property. I never did anything illegal on their property. And if I had, believe me, the police would have done something. And I've already blogged about how this one other priest, I was in a church service and he basically assaulted me. And I blogged about that and what the outcome of that was. But it was very nasty. It was very mean, and I think I took it very hard because I had just been raped. I had been a virgin my entire life and then raped twice. And I was covering myself, being modest. I'd gone there for the entire purpose of having privacy and respect. And then to have them slander me and say these horrible things about me when I was trying so hard to do good things was very distressful. I was extremely distraught over it. I cried and cried. I cried more at that time than I probably have ever cried in my life. And I don't think I've ever cried as much since. I mean, it was very painful and hard for me to understand because I really believed that they were Christians. You know, I mean, I didn't really understand, okay, they're Catholics and I'm Protestant, but I still thought they were Christians, or that they would treat me with a normal Christian decency. I'm not going to say that every single one of them up there should be castigated, but a lot of things that were done were really horrible. And so then I went up and I protested one day. That's all I was going to do was one day, and when I did it, I just kind of thought, well, I'm doing this for a good cause, and probably I have sealed my fate. I've now excluded myself from any wonderful romantic relationship with somebody special, because I just thought this is definitely not what probably every boyfriend or future husband wants to have their wife doing. And because I felt it looked a little radical, and to me it was radical. To me it was a big stepping out of being very quiet and not saying anything and just doing everything everyone told me to do, even if they walked all over me and tortured me, triggered migraines, tried to have me do all kinds of filthy work for them, and I'm still smiling and, just for Jesus, that type of thing. And I felt like, well, this is just for Jesus, but this is a more active stance in just for Jesus and for a cause, because what they're doing is wrong. In a legal sense and in a moral sense, it was wrong for them to try to defame me to the police. And I had no record, nothing. Nobody had ever done such a thing to me, ever. So I planned on doing it one day, and then it turned out to be, I had so many people come up to me and tell me that they felt encouraged and supported by me, and they would come up to me and tell me that they knew people in the town who had been molested as children or who were sexually abused. And some of them, it was their own story that they were telling, and others were talking about people they knew were relatives. And so I really hadn't planned on staying more than a day, but then after all of this encouragement, I thought, well, maybe this is helping people. Maybe it helps them to see me out there, sort of, not just for myself, but kind of standing up for justice in general for them too. And that's truly why I decided to stay up there. I mean, I put the sign in the ground, I sat in a chair and did my homework because I didn't really want to just go up there and sit and aimlessly do nothing. So that's why I stayed, and then all of a sudden I had their town or abbey psychologist, church member, who said he was a psychologist, come up and lashed out at me and said, "You're paranoid schizophrenic. There was never a monk that ever seduced you or was ever interested in you. You tried to seduce him. I mean, I had so many people were trying so hard to discredit me and to make this monk look like he had never done such a thing, that they were willing to go as far as calling me paranoid schizophrenic, because of course then I must be delusional, and I imagined it, and I'm hallucinating that he did any of the things I said he did. So really, like, he came out and said this, the worst of the worst, told me I had the worst of the worst mental disorders, that I had schizophrenia. And that, again, was kind of totally baseless, because I had so many friends and so many social contacts. Especially at that time, I wasn't going to carry very much weight. And then I had a bunch of teenagers and some mean monks. I mean, like mean ones, like kind of like hoodlums, gangster type monks, passing by me and snarling at me. A couple of them stealing my sign, running off into the Abbey property, which I didn't go on. Just, driving up, cutting their car so close to my chair that the chair almost got knocked over and my sign was ruined. And the police did nothing about any of those things. It didn't matter how close to harm I came, they did nothing. Because basically I found out they get paid by the Abbey to be their, like, Swiss Guard function. It's a situation where Mount Angel Abbey is its own property. Doesn't have anything to do. It's not part of the town of Mount Angel itself. It's considered to be its own town, quote unquote. And so for police services, they pay for that. So the police get paid. The police of Mount Angel Abbey town, they get paid by the church. So of course, anything that I tried to say didn't go anywhere. But at any rate, then I felt like I was being internally defamed by police and law enforcement. I didn't want that carrying over to my record. Then they tried to cite me for some things that I didn't even do. And as much as I'm going to say today, I don't want to spend too much time on that, because I feel like it's hashing over a lot of things that I've already written about. But I did want to bring it up just because it helps set the preface for my treatment by law enforcement. And also, I had brought up my belief system and, what I was doing prior to being defamed by the Willamette Week, just to show you how it was such a contrast, how that article was a really, horrible mischaracterization of who I was. And how that's why it was so incredibly defamatory. And I guess I'll say this part now, though. When I went back to my counselor that I'd gone to counseling with for 3 months after one of the rapes, first one, I asked for my records, and they refused to give them to me. And I never got them, ever. They told me that everything was fine, that I decided there was never a diagnosis. I mean, I was just there for voluntary counseling, and they never felt anything was wrong with me. It was just a traumatic situation. I was being counseled through. But when I asked for my mental health records, they never gave them to me. And then later, a few years later, they claimed that they didn't even have me in their system. So I have all of these medical records, like I said, and counseling records and things just being withheld from me or disappearing. And that started annoying me. So before I get into, then having them actually try to give me citations for things that I didn't do, or, that were unfair or untrue, that's as much as I have for today. So to let you know, I'm doing fine on the fast, and I look very skinny. I don't think I'm not very pretty, much less attractive when I'm fasting. My face is getting very thin, my body's very thin. I don't think that I'm not thinking that it looks really good on me. But even though outwardly it doesn't look too good, there are some other processes in my body. I feel like I'm benefiting from some healing, which is what a longer-term fast does. If you do a little research, you'll understand where I'm coming from, maybe. And I start out with it as a hunger strike, but I'm sure I'll be eating again. Truthfully, the torture has been it's been a lot less. And as I've said, there have been really horrible things which I will touch on and I will explain in the future as to descriptions of what has been done to me that I consider torture. Because I don't want to just throw that word out and not give actual definitions and descriptions for what it is and what I think it is. But I will do that in the future. And it's been much more bearable to be this way. I just feel like slightly weak, but it's not too bad. And I really want the return of my son. My son was definitely taken from me in unlawful circumstances, and the case was definitely fraud. And there's no possible way I could have appealed it when I'm being tortured. I mean, it's a hopeless case. So this country knows that. The people in charge know this. They have to do something to remedy what's been done. They have to quit what they're doing. And today, I was tortured a little bit, although at a very low level. But low level of something that was done to me and my son at very high levels that caused our toenails to curl and our feet to cramp up and curl under after a few days. Both of us. And that's still being done, but it's just very low level. So, pretty amazing maybe that I can talk lucidly about the things that have been done, and that I'm talking as if nothing's going on at all, and nothing has happened really. But trying to think about anything else I could add about the past part of things, but I think that's all. I mean, when I break the fast, I feel like I'll know when the right time is, and my body will tell me. I did some research, and I know what warning signs are. I know how to break the fast safely as well. Water fast safely. So, I'm pretty much through for today. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope you're having a great day or a good evening wherever you are. Thanks.